We are very fortunate to be joined by amazing screenwriter Bob DeRosa. How are you today?
I am good. Thanks for
That's
having
good
me.
to hear. Of course, of course. I think that you've done a thing that is uh, very much in alignment with the spirit and purpose of our show, which is to sort of give a behind the scenes, pull the curtain back on an industry that people probably often have the wrong idea about. So we're very excited to talk to you about that today.
Speaking of pulling back the curtain, our traditional first question. Answer as specifically or non-specifically as possible, or as you like. Specifically or as not specifically as you like. When's the last time you worried about covering your nut for the month? When's the last time you were like, oh no, I don't know if I'm going to make it?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm very fortunate. It's been a while. It's been
That's
years.
great.
But honestly, I my second movie, Killers, my reps negotiated kind of a legendary deal, and so when that movie started shooting, I got a great check. I got the check that allowed me to put a down payment on a house and be comfortable for a while in Los Angeles. So I'm super fortunate in that instance. But then I've had periods in my career where I didn't work for 6 years, where I didn't know if I could stay in Los Angeles. So it's been less about can I make my month for me in my career, in my recent career, and more about can I afford to stay in Los Angeles. And so it's a different point of view, but it's another reason I'm really interested and connected to your show, because I think it's whatever your point of view. There's very few people that are like no problem with the way things are kind of going in this industry.
I think sometimes it's not about the month, right? It's more like long term, does this make financial sense for me to
Totally.
keep doing this the way that I've been doing it? And then I think the next question after that is how much change do I need to make if I can't keep doing it the way that I'm doing it?
Yeah. There was a period of time where I could look at my savings and go, oh, we've got a few years, like we've got some time. I can invest in myself. I can follow passion projects. I can make stuff with my friends. And then at the start of every year, then it's a matter of, well, now it's not years. Now it's months. Now it's you start doing the math differently, and you start going, okay, well, let's, maybe don't have every streaming channel. Like you start making choices, and you're always working and always hoping that this is the year where the number doesn't go down. You at least make your year based on your work, but it's very sporadic. And then when the industry is changing it the way it is, it's so hard to plan for the future in this industry in general, but especially in this moment that we're in right now. The future feels very complicated and weird.
Well, we want to get to a place where we can get your outlook on what it looks like, but we want to start with that post that you put on Blue Sky that illuminated what the industry is like for you. Would you mind actually reading the post for us?
I sure will. Yeah. And a tiny bit of context. I started doing this when I was on Twitter, and Twitter was not a terrible place. And I would do threads about my point of view on the craft of screenwriting or my experience with the business of it. And I would get a bunch of new followers. And so I would want to sort of introduce myself in a way where not just humble brag, but also lay out the reality of what my career has looked like. And so this is sort of the introductory post I would do once or twice a year. It's actually, I did this 7 months ago, and it is still up to date. So the post is my screenwriting career by the numbers. I've written 38 feature scripts, made money on 10. 4 were assignments. 2 were optioned, but never sold. 1 was sold, but never made. 3 were sold and made. 2 out to financiers with attachments. New script out to producers. Currently writing number 39. There are no shortcuts.
I mean, this was an amazing sort of description to read. I've been involved in the writing part of the business for only maybe 4 or 5 years, honestly. And it has been the reality versus the perception of it is very stark. And I'm curious, when you share this, like, what sort of reactions do you get from people? Are people surprised when they do the math on this?
I think I think people are surprised. I tend to get people thanking me, going, "Thank you for being honest. Thank you for giving us the actual inside scoop." Um, yeah, I seem to get, and maybe it's just my demeanor, the fact that I'm just nice, and I try to have a nice corner of the internet, no matter how, like even when I was on Twitter, I had like a nice little corner where everybody was nice to each other. We all chatted and we all tried to be helpful, and then Twitter got even more terrible, and I had to leave. So now I'm trying to do the same thing on Blue Sky. But generally, I get people that they read that and most of them are actually inspired, and that's the good thing. Like if you can hear that and go, you know what, I'm in. I'm willing to do the work. I'm in. I think it's the people that are looking to win the lottery, to write that one script and sell it for $1 million. And when they see that, those are the people that read that and go, ooh, I don't know about this. And those are the people that I'm hoping to kind of wake up a bit with the post like that.
For me, when I'm looking at my career as a journalist and writer for print, doing this kind of accounting is sort of terrifying because I just kind of look at my career as like, have I been able to keep it together? Right. Like I have always had people willing to pay me for my writing. And that's what I have to return to over and over again, because the money balance, it doesn't work. Right. Like if I figure out how much time and energy I've spent and also how much I've gotten paid for different things, I'm just curious sort of if you can relate to any of this. In my world, sometimes I get paid literally like 50 cents a word for something that took a month out of my life. Right. Sometimes I get paid more for that for something really short. It doesn't align to like how good I think something is or how close to my heart something is. And it's not like have I ever taken an assignment? Well, just for the money. Oh. I mean, I guess it's all just for the money, but it's that disconnect between what I get paid and what I think I'm worth and what I love about my work. Does that resonate for how you operate in your writing and getting paid?
Yeah, 100%. Because the tension that comes with trying to write for a living is you start because you want to make something special. You want to make something beautiful, something that people connect to. And the tension then comes with you also need to make a living and pay the bills and put food on the table. And that tension, it never goes away. And so I've started looking like I'll take an accounting of just my body of work. And that includes my movies, but I worked on a season of a television show. I made a web series. I've done 2 stage plays, and hundreds of hours of produced theater, actually. But like I look at my body of work, and it seems like the stuff that is most my heart is the least amount I've been paid. And it's not that something like Killers, it was in my heart at the time, but it's not how you get to know me as a person, and yet that paid me the most money than probably all the other things combined. So you can't really look at it and go, there's not an equilibrium between the amount you get paid and the amount that your heart is represented on the page. It's always different, and it never makes sense. And if you like the way you talk, like with professional, like journalists and fiction writers, sometimes you can look and go, you're getting X amount per word.
Yeah.
Screenwriting, you can never do the math. You can't do them because I think once early in my career, I'm like, I'm going to keep track of all the hours I work on this thing. And it was a literal stairway to madness because you just work on something on and off for years. And I have a script right now that's far down and could go next year. And I wrote it 15 years ago, and I can't count the amount of drafts and the amount of energy and the amount of like hope and it doesn't matter. You have to let that time go. Not even including, I'm sure you go through this too, all the projects that you pitch, that you work up your take on it, and you
Uh-huh.
really believe in it, and you pitch it and nobody wants it. All that time, you can't account for that. You don't get paid for that. When I say I didn't work for 6 years, this was after my job on White Collar and before I kind of wrote my way out of it. When I say I didn't work for 6 years, I worked my ass off
Right.
for 6 years. I was writing and pitching and taking meetings and attaching producers, and I worked all the time and just didn't make a buck on anything. And that was a really harrowing time. If it wasn't for my good deal on Killers, that's usually the period of time, I think, when a lot of people in this business they just quietly move away and go teach. It used to be in Austin when it was more affordable. So whatever the more affordable version of Austin is now. So yeah, everything you said resonates with me constantly.
Let's focus in on that 6 year period. Like you said, that's a time period, a level of difficulty and challenge that very likely drives a lot of people away from, the risks of trying to be creative for a living in that fashion. And can you remember what helped you keep fighting? Because it seems like a fight. It seems like a 6 year long fight for you to keep writing, keep your focus on this manner of creativity and making a living from it when everything seemed to be no for that long.
Yeah, it kind of it's what Anna was saying, which is like that feeling. I had to remember, oh, I've been paid for this. People have read my scripts and loved them and wanted to make them and stake their careers on them. So I've done it before. Then I stopped doing it, and nobody wanted what I was writing, and scripts would go out and no one would care, and I was just cold. Like my career was ice cold at that point. But I knew I'd done it before, and I knew I still had stories to tell. I knew I wasn't done. So I had to write it out. And that 6 years I was with my second manager, and we didn't make a buck together. And he was a really good guy, and he's a really good manager. He has very successful clients, and he and I were just creatively not the right fit. But he said something amazing to me when I was like at a pretty low point. He was like, you just have to write your way out of this. And he was right. That was the right advice, which is like, I had to stop going, oh, I'm going to write this script because I'm going to sell it and I'm going to reignite my career. I had to just start writing because that's what I do. And I know it's worked before, and write the stuff I'm passionate about. I've done theater is something I've done my whole career. Just kind of, it's my side hustle. I call it not a side hustle because you don't make any money at it. It's like my writer's gym. It's where I go to work out. And I did a lot of late night theater with a good friend of mine, Ben Rock, who's a director. And we did stuff at this theater in Hollywood called Sacred Fools. These late night, ridiculous, blood soaked comedies that are a blast. And eventually Ben was like, hey, I own some gear. Let's make a web series. And I was like, fine, whatever. I'm not working. I'm broke. Let's do this. And we made a web series called 20 Seconds to Live that played festivals all over the world, won tons of awards. We didn't make a buck, but it reminded me, like going to these festivals and meeting, young up and coming filmmakers. It just reminded me, oh, I'm a filmmaker. This is what I do. I made a show that made people happy, and people were like, oh, we love this. Make more of this. And I was connected to the idea that I was having small wins, and they weren't lucrative wins, but I was still making stuff that people were like, it's a ridiculous blood soaked horror comedy. And yet people love it. And people were like, they were still connecting to it. And I was realized that taught me that, oh yeah, I can still make stuff. So now I just had to refocus my brain and figure out, well, how do I keep making stuff, but also making a living at it? And it still took some time. It's still taking some time. I'm still kind of working my way out of that.
I want to pause on this for a second because I think what you said is personally inspiring and I think will be meaningful to others, which is, if I'm going to kind of be corny about it, it's that when you're in that cold spot, you need to be responsible for kindling your own flame, right? Like, because other people are not going to be there lighting it. Like, one thing that I've been processing is how streaky everything is, right? Like when you're hot, like I guess It's LA. When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. But like when you're on fire in a career, like people just give you stuff, right? Like success builds on success, although it's not and you don't, it can feel unfair to me even while it's happening. Cause I'm just like, you're picking me because I'm on your radar. Like I'm not necessarily the best person for this. Like I could name other people who would be equally good at this, but I'm the person you're giving it to. And then for some reason, like I could tell you a story about why, but like things got colder, right? And then it feels real cold because you're not on people's radar. You're not the person that they think of necessarily, right? And that's the time when you kind of have to be like, all right, I'm not hot. I got to do it. I got to remember my own. I got to find that coal, if I'm just going to keep using a heat metaphor, and just tend to it myself, right? Like no one else is going to be like putting stuff on the fire. It's just like me. And I love the idea that you went to theaters because it's a thing you really love. But is it something you feel like you can do again if you have to? Like if you get through a cold time again? Do you think about that?
Yes. Because like I finally, after like a 13-year gap, I got a third movie made. And I was so fortunate. It shot in Malta right before the writer's strike. My business manager deposited my check on the first day of the writer's strike.
Wow.
So, I mean, I've been a non-voting member of the WGA for years. So I got to, pick up my picket sign and be a member again. And I had, a new movie and a new paycheck to kind of make it to sustain me during that strike, which I'm so fortunate about. But I got that payday and I remember thinking, is this going to finance the next chunk of my development and my career here in LA, or is this check going to finance my exit? And I'm still here because I went through that strike and I was invigorated by walking in circles with all these amazing artists and all these people from Oscar. I met Oscar winners and I met people who never sold a thing, and we were all together, and that was really inspiring. And so, yeah, I'm still, I still have stories to tell, and like my career is still a little bit cold. My movie didn't do great. It's fine. It's out there. I'm proud of it, but it's not like the phone is ringing off the hook. So I'm still having to kind of rekindle that fire. I think it's more about realizing, I always have to do that. Right. Even when you're hot, you can't just go, well, that's going to just last. You have to always be rebuilding and rekindling, because when you're hot, you've got people helping you. You've got agents or editors or representatives. You've got people that are like, because they're trying to make money off you. So they're like, yeah, let's help you. And then when you go cold, those people are like, well, you do it and let us know when you're ready to start making money again. and once you realize that that's the way it works, then you realize it's always me and the people I choose to collaborate with. It's always the team trying to make stuff and trying to rebuild and rekindle the fire. And also just to be aware of kind of what's happening in the industry and try to be ahead of what's next and trying to plan for it a little bit better. And part of it's just, I've been doing this for 20 years. So now I've been through enough moments of heat and moments of cold that I get that is the reality and that's the way it works. And I think when you're first starting out, you don't know that. You think you're going to get in and sell your first thing and just work forever. And maybe 1% of the professional writers do that. The rest of us, we're on a raging sea, and sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it's not. And we just have to get used to that.